Welcome to the podcast today. I am your host, Peter Hartzell, and I am with my friend, Patrick Lomantini. Patrick has a crazy story. I'm beyond excited to talk with Patrick today, to hear a little bit about his journey with an extended season of depression and several suicide attempts, ultimately resulting in this really amazing new idea for a wearable ring that could potentially help to catch suicidal attempts before they even begin. And it's a pretty amazing idea that was birthed out of really a miracle. It's a miracle, Patrick, that you are still alive, that you're still here. And
Amen.
And I'm really excited to hear your story. So go ahead and let's just dive right in. Tell me your story.
Okay. 23 plus years ago, as we'll get to the story here, I committed suicide, or tried to anyway, 23 years ago. So I have these bookend suicidal attempts and all the crap in between. And basically the subject matter is all the things that we sweep under the rug over the years, right, that we don't pay attention to. And somebody pulls the rug out, and all of a sudden it gets exposed, and it's hard to handle. So we need to handle those moments as they come versus sweeping it under the rug and then dealing with it later. The fact that I'm holding this phone and talking to you right now is a miracle, because I did my best not to be here, and it was a very dark place. And my wife and I of 5 years broke up in January, and I didn't see it coming. And I just went down that rabbit hole, brother, that darkness. And you think you got it handled. You think you're okay. Little by little, the devil comes inside, and the Grim Reaper just works. Man, I tell you, little by little. And so I didn't handle it very well, obviously. And I just didn't want to be around. And then I started bouncing around hotel rooms, and hotel rooms are like probably the most depressing place to be if you're by yourself. And so I did all the research. I did all this research. I did how to kill yourself painlessly or quickly. There are so many things on the internet. It's crazy. That apparently if you take 45 Benadryl, you're supposed to kill yourself, because it causes seizures, it causes all kinds of strokes. And it's literally on the internet. If you take 45 plus Benadryl, and unfortunately that's a challenge. And you know how the kids were doing those Tide Pods or whatever they were, or Tide Pods challenge. Now they're doing Benadryl challenges. It's like crazy.
Yeah. So
I thought I was okay. I went down to the beach after in February during Valentine's Day. And there's Destin. I love it down there. So I thought I was going to be okay, right? And just kind of get to my happy place. I walked up and down the beach for 4 hours and thought I was okay. So on that drive back, instead of just driving home or calling a friend, and that's something we'll get to also, the support group. Support groups are only good if you call them, man. You can have the best people in the world on your support group, and if you don't call them, what good are they? So I'm going to change that. I'm going to change the world and how we look at that. But anyway, so I drove that back to Franklin, and instead of just going home and realizing I had a full day of work, I decided to go to my hair salon and take 45 Benadryl and put a zip tie around my neck. That should have done it, right? Well, I must have passed out because I dislocated my shoulder. 11 hours later, this gentleman named Michael, who was a client of mine, was there to get his hair cut. So I was on that floor, passed out for 11 hours, but didn't die. And then my head swelled up, face was purple. And for some reason, I opened the door, and Michael's face, just like, what? Are you trying to kill yourself? So I go into this complete denial mode. Oh, it's not what it looks like. I was just goofing around, and it got stuck around my neck.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. So he helped me cut it off, right? So and he's like a guardian angel. He's another important part of my life right now as well. So he ended up calling the cops because it freaked him out so bad. So I created a huge circus. There was cops, EMS, fire department, you name it, they were there. And of course, this is during a very busy day at work. So the whole place is busy and there's people everywhere. So I get admitted to TriStar Mental Hospital, and I was there for a week. And that's when I came up with the idea of the podcast, Surviving Suicide and all the crap in between. And a book, a tell-all book. Everybody wants to write a book. But anyway, we'll see where it goes.
You could have ChatGPT do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that too. Yeah. So I met this guy named Osorio, black guy with an epic 1970s afro, man. Just cool dude. But this guy was a high-level executive at an electric company. And what was blowing my mind was all he did was think about it, and they put him in the hospital. And that's one thing the doctor said to me. He goes, a lot of people think about suicide or they say they might do something, but he goes, Patrick, you actually did it. That's a whole other level, dude. And so it never really sunk in. So I got through there and kind of tried to get back to life, went back to work, went back to the barbershop, went back to the place I used to work, and those guys welcomed me back. And my good friend Terrence is like, Patrick, you're not really good at this suicide thing. You might want to give it up, And so anyway, so I thought I was fine, man. A couple of weeks went by, and I continued doing my podcast, and I've been extremely. A lot of people think it's brave, but I've been extremely transparent and accountable about my progress and my recovery. And people are like, I'm blowing people's minds, and I'm just gonna show them that miracles do happen, man. But before we get there, I was continuing to do my podcast, and I wanted to do a podcast on Robin Williams. And his last interview is with Diane Sawyer. You can find it on YouTube. And you would never know from his interview that he was going to kill himself a few days later. He was dealing with a bunch of stuff that you didn't know. He was seriously depressed, manic depressive, had some other issues too. But I get my point of that whole podcast was to just show you just don't know what people are going through. Mm-hmm. So I planned on doing that podcast on the 19th of March. So I went down to the podcast room in Spring Hill and did the podcast. It took like 26 takes because I kept wandering off. I kept losing track of what was happening. And so I finished up, wrapped up, turned off the lights, and that's the last thing I remember of that day other than waking up on the operating room table. Wow. So what I'm about to tell you is what was told to me after I saw the video myself and I actually read the police report. I don't remember getting in my car. I don't remember starting my car. I don't remember driving it, what highway I got on. I don't remember anything. I only remember two things out of this entire scenario, and I'll share those with you after I tell you the story. So apparently I took this van that I'm driving in. It's a 2006 Chrysler Town & Country with a 315,000 miles on it. And wow. It works beautifully. Everything works great. But apparently it does 115 miles an hour, and I did not know that. Wow. I pulled an O.J. Simpson.
Oh my gosh.
In Nashville on 840. They shut the highway down. I was recklessly driving in and out of traffic. I had at least 6 cop cars chasing me. I ran a sheriff off the road. He was trying to pin me in, and I blocked him and ran him off the road. They finally put the spikes out to get me, and they caught my rear tire. I pull over, and this is the one of the two things I only remember out of this whole thing is I remember a cop being off to the right side of my windshield with his gun drawn, telling me to get out of the car. After that, I don't remember, but I grabbed my knife that sits here in the console. I slit my neck from here to here. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I stabbed myself here twice and cut both main arteries. I should be dead. Yeah. Your body only contains 7 pints of blood. I lost 4 at the scene and a total of 6 by the time they got me to Vanderbilt, because I don't even remember the helicopter coming to get me. And if it wasn't for the fact that several of those officers were militarily trauma trained, I wouldn't be here. They were stuffing gauze into my throat and applying pressure. So 200 staples later and 6 hours of surgery, 6 pints of blood and 4 pints of plasma, here I am living. But I spent 10 days at the Vanderbilt psych unit and just kind of trying to gather my thoughts and what was happening. It all seems like a bad dream. But after my visit with the psych, Williamson County came and got me for my charges because I created quite a mess. I had several felony charges. One was assault against a police officer with a deadly weapon, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, reckless driving, speeding, of course. And I like the fact that they actually added improper lane change too on that. So, so I'm depressed and I'm in.
Just
throw it all in there. Yeah, throw it all in there.
Yeah.
So I'm literally in jail at Williamson County in Franklin, contemplating how I could kill myself there and get this over with, because I didn't want to go and spend my 2 years or whatever I was facing, how I could bang my head against the wall, hard enough. But apparently I'm not good at this, and I keep coming back. So all I was probably going to end up doing is making myself a vegetable, and that would have made it worse. So
right.
I ended up with this amazing lawyer, and he was a public defender, which I thought for sure, God, I'm going to just get railroaded because he's a public defender. They earn public pretender for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up with God has been with me all the way through this, Peter. And he's had his hand on everything. That guy was a private lawyer for years, and then he got into the public side of things. He said, I need you to trust me. I'm going to get you off on temporary insanity. And I'm like, do you know how hard that is, Peter, to get off? You see that in movies all the time. Like, this guy, Hannibal Lecter, is going to get off on temporary insanity. It's impossible. So he goes, just trust me. So I did, and I waited a month to talk to this psychiatrist. I ended up talking to him, telling him what I remember, what I don't remember, and the depression that I was feeling over the loss of my wife and all of that. I just told him I was just being honest, because I didn't want to. The lawyer said, don't prepare for it. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to look like we're trying to use the system, right? He goes, just tell him what you know. And man, wow, God laid his hand on that too. So the doctor determined I was on that day temporarily insane and lacked any capacity of understanding what I was doing. Because I guess if you think about it, nobody sane is going to stick a knife in their neck. It's just not a sane thing to do. And so that's why I'm here talking to you. So the agreement was that all of those charges would be dropped if I would agree to do 1 year of therapy.
Come on.
With what? I work I work in an all black barbershop, and the first thing out of their mouth was, it's because you're white, dude. It's because you're white. And I like, you know what? That's the first time I'll take that. I'll take it all day long. So wow.
Yeah.
Because those were serious charges, and it was just an amazing for that to be like. So yeah, that's the reality of it. And the astonishing thing of it is that I literally have survived suicide, and it's been interesting sharing my journey on social media, because there's some people out there like, oh, it was a suicide attempt, Patrick. Well, I guess if you want to be really technical, yes, but I pretty much killed myself, man. Right. Not that I'm proud of it.
Right.
But because of this, Peter, because of what's happening, is why my life's mission is so much more clear now. Mm-hmm. I've always been one to want to help people, encourage people. I've always wanted to be that guy that was inspiring and motivational type speaker or whatever. And I was out there in the world with that, to my best ability. But now this has got some real teeth to it. And to be able to share this story and share that journey and what has happened since then. One of the most amazing things that's happening right now is a good friend of mine and client named Ray Guzman. He's on the board of many companies. He's just very astute businessman, extremely smart. And he is part of a group called Arena Labs, and they have this product called wearables, and it's a ring that you put on your finger. And in the ring are a lot of sensors, and it can keep track of all the biometrics of your body, and the heartbeat, breathing rate, sleeping habits, all that kind of stuff. And they made the ring for all the NBA players during COVID, so they could keep track of their bios and see if they could determine whether or not they have symptoms of COVID, and they could kind of separate them, do what they need to do, kind of preemptive type stuff. So while I was on vacation for 4 months, that's a little better way than saying you're in jail, I think. Yeah. While I was on vacation, I was thinking, how could we use that ring to intervene with someone that, like me, like, let's say I had that ring on and it was showing obvious signs of struggles, obvious signs of issues, and it would automatically contact the support group. So what I'm trying to do is almost do like a minority report with people, like, wear the ring, be accountable, let us keep track of you, let us see how you're doing. Not only, just be the best version of yourself, the best healthy version of yourself. But so I pitched the idea to Ray and Arena Labs, and we are currently in the process of working with that platform to manipulate it to where, let's say you're on my support group and I'm having a bad day, it's going to show up on your phone that says, reach out to Patrick, see how he's doing. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that could be a game changer. We're really excited about moving forward with that product and seeing how that comes about. But, there's days where I wish I wouldn't have done it. There's days I wish I was still with my wife. There's days I was, you wish a lot of things in retrospect. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I'm actually the happiest I've ever been in a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And look at what's happening to me now. And all the things and the gifts that God has given me, and this opportunity with Arena Labs, none of that would have happened,
right,
had I not done it to myself. So I don't recommend it.
Right. Yeah, that's not the ideal path to go down, but
it's not. Yeah, exactly. That's not the ideal path to go to find your success. But I'm making lemonade out of these lemons, man, and that's all I can do. And I get up every day. Actually, I'm enjoying therapy. I think a lot of people could go to, should self-discovery, learning about yourself, why you process things the way you process things, trauma that you may have experienced in childhood that you don't realize is affecting you now as an adult. I mean, all these different things, which is good. I don't know if this podcast is going the direction you want it to go, but I just started talking.
No, it's fantastic. I was going to ask because you mentioned early on that you had attempted suicide years ago too. And so like the suicidal thing has sort of always, it wasn't like this just kind of came out of the blue. It wasn't just a moment of temporary insanity. It was sort of a predisposition or mental predisposition that was kind of like your fallback or default mental track or whatever. Have you been able to uncover why that has been the case for you, or are you still in the process of discovering that?
I'm still in the process of discovering, and that's one of the things I told my therapist that was one of my goals. Why I felt, or why I have felt in years past, as well as here recently, why I felt like that, why I feel like that's necessary. Because it's a path that doesn't make any sense, but you rationalize it. You're like, to get into that mindset where you don't feel like you're worthy, or you don't want to be here, or there's no one that loves you. It's a messed up mindset. I don't know why I feel like that abandonment issue becomes so severe for me. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like once I stuck that knife into my neck, I kind of cleansed myself of a lot of issues, because I have so much more clarity and so much more driven purpose than I ever had before. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just the Holy Spirit working in me and God working in me. But I do want to find out, why I feel that was necessary. I mean, because that's the extreme, yeah, it hurts to break up. Yeah, it hurts to go through a divorce. Yeah, all that stuff hurts. But to feel like that's the necessary step for you, it's just not a right path. It's not a good path.
Well, and I know there's a lot of people that secretly, like you said, I mean, it's a shameful thing to carry. You know, it's something that you don't willingly volunteer. It's not like light conversation at a dinner party.
Right.
So it's not the kind of thing that you just offer up, information that you just offer up. And, you know, I'm sure there's probably were moments where maybe you had an opportunity to share that you were feeling a certain way, but the temptation is, oh, they don't want to hear my sob story. You know, I don't want to be, you know, Debbie Downer all the time or whatever. And so you just kind of keep it inside yourself and just think, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. I'll work through it. And then, you know, you get to a moment where I think what's interesting about your story is that you went in to create a podcast about this issue, tried 26 times to get it right. I'm sure you probably felt a little bit, you know, I can't even get the podcast right. You know, I can't even get this podcast about this topic right. And then just kind of puts you into that mental place of, well, all right. And then you're just off. You're just off on in a daze. And, yeah, I think the fact that you've attempted suicide several times and haven't succeeded at it at this point, it's easy to look back and go, all right, I'm here for a reason. I've got some things to do. And, you know, that I think that first step of recognizing, or I mean, the gift of being able to serve your sentence in the form of therapy. I mean, that's kind of a given, right? Like therapy should be obvious. Like that would be a good thing to do, but all the other things that you should be serving. I mean, it's just that redemptive element is so powerful, and that makes your story that much more impactful. You have a life ahead of you, and you've got people that can benefit from your story, or probably you'll be able to speak into their life and catch them before they get to that moment where they spiral. So that's just super.
That's exactly what my mission is. That's my life purpose. And the application is very vast, because it's not just everyday guys like myself running around, you know, with those issues. I mean, you've got, you know, veterans and military, police officers. I mean, and this is a worldwide issue, and mental illness. And I'm looking forward to doing that. I really am. And the fact that I am not serving this sentence in jail is just a miracle in itself. And that in itself is the gift that I feel like almost because of that gift, I almost feel it's an obligation for me to go out there and help people in any way I can. And to think that, I was doing a podcast on that subject and couldn't get that one podcast right and actually I was going to repost it. After I got home, I said, okay, I'm going to put that out there. So I watched it before I did anything with it. And you could visibly see I was having problems.
Wow.
You could just see in my face that I wasn't there. Yeah. And I was zoning out and I couldn't remember what I was saying. And so all the signs were there. Well, here's what's really interesting is one of my very good friends, Tad Godsky in Kansas, known him for 30 years. And he's always been that voice of reason, very godly man. So I reached out to him the night before and I said, hey, bro, I could use a talk with you. Can you give me a call tomorrow around 2:00? At 2:00, I'll be done with my podcast. And he's like, yeah, I'll give you a call at 2:00. So he didn't call me at 2:00, but after getting my phone back and everything else, I looked at the phone and he called me at 4:30. That was when everything was happening. That's when they were pulling me out of the car.
Whoa. So
I was telling him that, and I was like, would it have made a difference had he called me at 2:00? Had I talked to him at 2:00, would it have made a difference? And I asked my friend Alex, you know Alex, and I like Alex. He's such a matter-of-fact kind of guy.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't think it would have made a difference, dude. He goes, you were already down the rabbit hole. He goes, I don't know if his call would have made a difference at all. I don't know. I guess we'll never know. Right. But that's what I want to change. I want to change that to where It's interesting. I was pitching the idea to Ray and Brian about the wearables and the ring and the accountability and everything. And I was going to call it SOS, like survivor of suicide, that type of thing. He goes, why don't we need to take the word suicide out of it because that creates such a negative thing. We want people in that mindset to feel like they're living their best life and they're getting better. So we're working on the proper name for the product in the app because I want myself to wear the ring, right? Okay, I wear the ring. I want to know by wearing the ring, I want to have the mindset of I don't want to go I don't want to be that way. I don't want to hurt myself. I want to be accountable, and this ring lets me be that way. And that's the mindset I want people to have when they wear the ring, to be accountable and to let you know that people do love you. And that's the thing that I had no clue how many people's lives I've touched over the years, because I found out there's 3 types of people in your life: those that truly do love you, and especially with me right now, ones that truly love you, wrap your arms around you and just, come on, man, we got this with you. There's 2, the second group are the people that want nothing to do with you. I've lost a lot of friends and a lot of clients over this because they don't want anything to do with me. It's like I'm, possessed or whatever. I don't know. Well, whatever. They're just doing me a favor. They're just not my people. And then there's the third group of people that are too busy with their own life. They have no clue what happened. And so that's where I'm focusing on, the 1 and the 2, the 1 and the 3, the ones that love me and just want to see me succeed. And the group that they don't know. So I don't bring it up. It's not like it's not like you said earlier. It's not table conversation. Hey, by the way, did you know I slipped my neck open?
Right. Yeah. That's a tough one to just like casually get into conversation on. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it's it's depression. I never really knew a lot about depression or anxiety until I married my wife. She and all her family are all on some sort of medication for anxiety or depression or something. So, it was interesting, eye opener, because I grew up with the whole get over it thing. My dad was like, get over it. What are you crying for? Get over it. So, it was never, I didn't know anything about it. Yeah. But mental health is such a prominent thing now, Peter. And it's, yeah, it is. It really is. And so I learned a lot about it. Didn't realize I had it and how it affected me. So yeah, I'm on a journey of learning a lot about myself right now.
So yeah. The idea of this wearable ring, I think what's really interesting about that is you've got a device or something that someone could or would go out of their way to intentionally purchase and wear and connect. And it's not just signing up for like an email list or whatever, or
right.
Like it's a conscious and intentional decision to like have something on your hand that you look at every day, you feel when you walk around, you are, whether you're cognitively aware of it or just like, subconsciously aware that you've got this thing on you at all times. And that when those depressive thoughts or that cycle begins, you have that moment, that immediate moment there where you can reach out to your support group, and that group is already in place, and you don't have to go and try to find a friend and hope that they're available to answer a call. And like in your situation, you called your friend in Kansas and said, could you call me at 2 tomorrow after I'm done with this podcast? And, that was a moment where you knew that you were needing some help. You were at least aware enough that you could reach out for help, but that support group or that system wasn't in place, a strong enough network of people, support people in place, that if he wasn't available, somebody else was right there. And right. I think what's really interesting about this idea is like putting everything in place when you're clear-headed, when your mind is clear and what, like, I don't want to die. I don't want to kill myself. It's not even about suicide. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to feel isolated. I don't want to feel like, all these dark thoughts that are going on in my mind. I have to carry them by myself. I think that idea is just, I think that's going to save so many lives. and not just save lives, but catch people before they even get to that point where the suicidal attempts begin.
Yeah, what's really fueling me is what's so exciting about this is that what we're trying to do is get in front of it. So when I was on vacation, I was watching this news, and there's a gentleman on there that created this anonymous text line for people with issues. And he had a very good friend that passed away, so it inspired him to develop this text line so people could talk to somebody completely anonymous. And he said last year, 12,000 people utilized that text line.
Whoa.
He had 237 de-escalated suicide attempts. So people that said they were going to do it, said they were going to kill, but they were able to talk them through it, and then they're fine. So can you imagine that's from somebody actually picking up the phone and texting somebody? 237 de-escalated suicide attempts. Could you imagine how many we could de-escalate with this ring, with the idea of being able to have that accountability with that person and see how they're doing before they even get to that point? Then, like you said, by wearing the ring, you yourself just take on a different mindset.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because here's the beautiful thing. If they don't answer after their second attempt, so let's say I don't answer your call, and then it goes to the next guy on the support group, and I don't answer his call. The third one's the police for a wellness check. So the police will be notified if you don't answer the call. So it's like, dude, I don't want the police involved. I better answer their call. So there's so much to it. I'm so excited about it. Period.
Yeah, well, that and it's like, the wearable element, because when you're in that headspace, I mean, you said 237 people were saved, and they had to proactively, voluntarily, anonymously text for help. And if you're in a headspace where you're done, you're not looking for help. You're not reaching out for support or encouragement. You're done. So the fact that those people even called or texted on the anonymous line meant that they were still aware enough that they didn't really want to do it. They just it was a lifeline. But for those that aren't capable of or in a headspace to even reach out for help, this is going to catch them before they're even in that headspace. And I mean, far before the attempt even begins. And I like you said that it's not even just about the suicide, because the suicide is kind of like it's an event that sort of it's a definitive moment, but it's sort of representative of a lot of things going on inside.
Right. For example, one thing that's really cool is like it keeps a score of your sleep, how well you're sleeping, and it ranks your sleep pattern. So if there's a stretch of like 3 days and you're not sleeping well, I'm going to reach out to you and say, dude, you okay? I mean, I noticed that you're not sleeping very well. Mm-hmm. See, the little things like that, like you just said, it's a combination of a lot of things that add up over time, and where you're just like, man, I'm done with this. So I can, that might be a part of the preemptive right there. Like, hey, man, figure out what's going on. Why are you not sleeping well? Or whatever. I mean, your heart rate's way up. I mean, what's happening? So type of thing.
Well, Pat, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I mean, this ring idea is amazing. And so keep me posted on that. I definitely want to stay in the loop and, hear about progress and any way that I can support you and the team that's working on developing that. And I mean, just awareness alone, like for people to just know that there is just some practical steps that can be taken that are not shameful in nature. That it's like, it's about surrounding yourself with the people that care about you, that don't want to see you hurt yourself, that can speak truth into your life. Like, your life matters. You're important. You're valuable. Yeah. You're not alone. I think that's the biggest thing, to know that we're not alone. And ultimately, I mean, for those of us who are Christians and believers in the truth, that we can recognize that the struggles that we have on this earth, the things that we deal with in this life, are really temporary. I mean, they're the things that
they really are. Yeah.
Things that we do in this life are, I mean, they're meaningful, but they're either eternal in nature or they're going to pass away. with us. And so every day, like my motivation in life is every day, the things that I engage in, the things that I do have eternal value, eternal weight. And
Right.
I think the things that you're doing with this, your second, third, fourth chance at life is really paving the way for other people to put down the things that are burdensome of this life and to pick up the things that have eternal weight and eternal value. And honestly, the way that we find that roadmap is through scripture and through prayer and through connecting with people that are encouraging us in that way. And so, man, I am so thankful for you coming on and being vulnerable and honest and sharing about this. I'd love to do a follow-up podcast and talk more about this technology.
Absolutely.
As it progresses. Is there anything else you want to kind of share to close out the podcast?
No, man, I just appreciate the opportunity to get it out there and let other people know that there is help. There are other people out there that are going through this and want to be there for you. That's unfortunately, when you go down that rabbit hole, you just think that you're all by yourself, and we need to realize we're not by ourselves. And that's why I'm excited at this second chance life that I have. And I'm taking advantage of every moment that I'm walking on this earth. It's a precious time that we have with each other. And because of everything that's happened, man, I'm on here with you, man. And otherwise I wouldn't be here. So it's very fortunate. I appreciate it. And I hope that you and I together with this podcast can help change some people's minds.
Beautiful, man. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way?
You can go to my website, lomantini.com, LOMANTINI. I'll even put my number out there, 316-640-4995. If you need anybody to talk to, I'm here for you.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Pat. And I'm looking forward to what's ahead for you. And we'll definitely stay in touch.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.